Welcome, everyone. You're listening to the ImPerfect Podcast. I'm Kathy.
And I'm Kennedy. Join us on this week's episode as we discuss intriguing topics and people of interest that will inspire us to explore all of the unique pieces of ourselves.
We are all imperfectly perfect.
We're glad you're here. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the ImPerfect Podcast.
Today, we're super excited to have our first guest on. We might be a little bit biased in saying this, but this young man really is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's not just my cousin.
Or my nephew.
But he's also a recent high school graduate. He's a skateboarder. He's a mission worker. He's actually doing mission work and living in Hawaii right now. But he's also an amazingly talented artist, maker of music, performer, musician. He plays the drums, the ukulele, the guitar too, I think. So yeah, he's pretty diverse and he's very talented.
We wanted to have Carter as our first guest because not only does he align with what our message is in living to be your truest self and just going forward in life, but when we started talking about doing the podcast and what we wanted for artwork and music, we reached out to him. And he not only came up with the artwork for our cover, but also he came up with the intro and outro jingle that you hear each and every time that you tune in with us.
Yeah, so without further ado, here's Carter.
Hey, Carter, how's the weather in Hawaii?
It's pretty good. Well, in general, it is. Today it's been very rainy, but it's kind of nice. It makes it a little bit cooler than usual. It can be really hot here sometimes.
Yeah.
Really hot, like how hot?
Like 30, 31 degrees Celsius. And then really high humidity, which is quite a big change from Ontario, Canada.
Yeah,
sure is. Yeah. Although we've had pretty good weather this week, so
yeah,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed
for 31 tomorrow.
Yeah. So do you get to go out and do much other than while you're working there?
Yeah. Go out all the time. There's down by the water. There's a ton of like tourist attraction type places, ton of restaurants. You can go and see a ton of cool buildings and stuff. Anywhere you go, there's going to be a nice view, lots of hiking, get down by the water, swimming, surfing, lots.
Cool. What's your favorite thing about Hawaii?
Probably the animals, honestly. There's a lot of animals I'm not used to seeing. Like we don't have mongooses. There are just chickens and roosters walking around randomly. Like all these colorful birds that I'm not used to seeing, and really nice vegetation and stuff. So
that's cool. Yeah. So thank you so much for agreeing to do an episode with us. We just want to pick your brain a little bit because we think what you're doing is really, really neat. You're just doing stuff that you love to do because you love to do it, and that's just the end of it. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us your name, where you're from, your age, what you like to do in your spare time, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm Carter. I'm 18. I moved to New Brunswick about a year ago, New Brunswick, Canada, and I'm very much a creative person. I always have been. I love to create. I love art, any form of art. I love all things to do with music, all instruments, all music production, even any sort of sports that's creative based, anything like that.
That's cool. So are you mainly self-taught, or did you learn this stuff from somewhere? How did you come about all of this artsy fartsy stuff?
Yeah, primarily self-taught. Growing up, none of my friends kind of did the stuff that I was super interested in. It was just going on the internet, on YouTube, finding out all these things that I thought were super cool, and then wanting to get into it myself, doing research on what I needed to get started, and then figuring out a way to save up and get a hold of those things. And then I'd kind of trial and error my way through the first couple months, and then if I got really good at it, I'd start investing more money into getting taught how to do things, or more tools that I could use.
Yeah. So do you see yourself doing something with artwork sometime in the future, like with your career, or does that seem too far off for you to think about, or what do you think?
I'd love for it to involve that. It's kind of completely up in the air right now. I'm willing to kind of go wherever I'm called to in terms of career path, but I just hope that on the side I'd still have time to still commit to music and art.
Mm-hmm.
I this last couple years decided to start actively trying to get work doing art commissions for people, as a way to kind of prove to myself and other people around me that, like, if someone else is willing to pay for what I'm making and they have no bias towards me, then they must see value in what I'm doing.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was definitely affirming in that way. But I don't know. I'm kind of thinking as of now that music is more what I'd hope to have in my career path. But yeah, like I said, it's all up in the air.
Yeah, well, your portfolio is full of stuff because you're just doing it all the time. And you're, again, I know we're biased and everything, but you're super talented.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Agreed. So, Carter, what makes you feel the most inspired or makes you feel like you're being your best self?
In terms of inspiration, I'll have like certain videos that I'll watch like once a year because they just consistently, like, it just hits a spot of me inside that targets exactly what I want to do. There's this video by John Bellion where it's the behind the scenes of him creating one of his songs. And I don't know what it is. I've watched it like 8 times, and I could watch it again and love it. And it's just, I see the passion in him, and it's the exact same thing that I have inside me. And I just so desperately want to get to that same place and create in the same way from the same like love, and have it be at a level that other people can enjoy it just as much as I am. Because so much of the artist struggle is having like exactly what you want in your head and just not being at the level to output it in the and articulate it
Right.
to the degree it's possible to be expressed to other people.
Do you find that both in music and in art?
Yes, 100% art. Um, because it's like our creativity and our imagination is able to conjure up like just the most wonderful things, and it's so frustrating when your technical ability, it's like having someone from a different language and they're a beautiful speaker, and telling them to tell you like a poem on the spot, and having them have to translate it to a language they're not fluent in. It compresses it turns it into something that's just not as, it's still there, the content's there, but it's just not in such a nice format.
I
Yeah,
understand.
you're not
Yeah.
short of imagination. It's just that you, from mind to hand, to get it on paper, to
Exactly.
get it on the iPad or whatever it is, right?
With music that can happen as well, but something I love more about music is a lot more people seem predisposed to working in a way that is more, I'll just see where it kind of takes me, because that often leads you to a better result. Some people aren't like that. Some people know exactly what they want to do, and so that can still happen. But I find a lot of the time, if you kind of work with what's happening instead of trying to guide it, it's a lot better. Where in art, you can do that same thing, but there's always certain things in terms of color theory, in terms of what's the word?
I think I know what you're trying to say.
Anatomy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like it feels more limited. Like you've got to always keep it in mind as you're working.
Yeah, you have to start with a concept more so.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can drag it in random directions, but it's just not as satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're well versed in both, in my opinion. But yeah. So what keeps you going beyond art, beyond music, beyond those things? What keeps you moving every day and wanting to try new things and things like that?
It's not really a choice. It's kind of just the way I am. Yeah,
I know it's a deep question. I know.
Jordan Peterson said, if creative people like stop making things, they will quite literally shrivel up and die. And it's like he describes it as a curse, because
Yeah.
it's just such a vital thing to make things. And the reason why depression is um, so hard on artists too is because the one thing that keeps them going is their work. And when they lose motivation for their work, like they need to create, but also they have no motivation to create. And that's like the worst thing ever. Because it just takes your mind off everything when you can kind of get into that zone. But
Yeah,
I guess
that's honestly such a great answer.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that
Yeah.
somehow.
yeah, when like the few things that kind of you're able to put all your brain power into and all your concentration, so you're not worrying about other things, when those things become stale and unattractive to you and you're kind of just left there to just ruminate on your thoughts, it's not fun.
Yeah, so it's good to keep those things in practice.
Yeah, and make
Yeah.
sure that you're not turning it into just a grind either, so you burn out of your favorite things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you graduated this past June, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, here in Moncton. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about what it felt like to graduate and maybe not know what direction you were headed and why you took the path that you did thus far.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I at first it was not a pleasant experience changing schools. But I kind of found my groove with the class I was in, and we really got along. Um, and when it came time to graduate, it just felt like any other year kind of graduating, except people just made it a little bit more of a big deal than kind of I'm used to. And um, I didn't like it at all, to be honest. All these people that I had finally gotten to know, um, all going off to do their own thing. And it would have been worse if I had been with them for my entire high school years.
Yeah.
But I really didn't like it. I kind of wish I was still in high school because it's so nice and scheduled for you, even though you don't have the same freedom.
Mm.
Um,
And for
and
perspective, what was the size of your grad class, just so the listeners understand what you mean by tight knit and being close to these people?
yeah, my grad class was really small. I think it was 17 people.
Yeah, I was gonna say under 20 for sure, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
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 So
Yeah, and I thought I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't tell my parents, but I sent my application to a school in Ontario for audio engineering, and I got accepted. And I was pretty sure that's what I wanted to do. And uh, just kind of as the time came up, I just kind of heard like God telling me, this isn't really what I want you to do, at least
Hmm.
right now.
Hmm.
It's like there's nothing wrong with that. um, I know you'd be really good at that, but it's just not what I was supposed to do. And it was so strange because I loved it, and I had no issues whatsoever. Um, but I just didn't feel good about it at all anymore. And about 6 different people, all individually who didn't know each other, came up to me and they're like, "Hey, you should check out something called Cocoa Crew with YWAM." And I really didn't want to, but eventually I kind of caved in and I looked up
I
what
don't
it
know what you're
was.
talking about.
And yeah, it's a program where you're in Hawaii for 3 months working on a um, university campus for free, but they take care of your housing and your food. And you get to be with a ton of awesome people. And it's a Bible discipleship school. So it's super cool.
What an amazing experience, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah.
that's
It's
awesome.
only been like, it's such a great feeling because I get to wake up and serve other people, but also there's all these people doing so much for me
Mhm.
for almost nothing in return. And it only gives me more time to develop like my hobbies on the side, develop my skills in like the trades fields because I'm doing maintenance work, and to um, have more time to think about what I want to do once I get back.
Yeah, that's really great for you too. Mom and I had the opportunity to go on a mission trip in Cuba one time, and it's an experience that I'll never forget. It's an experience that you can't change for anything. Yeah. So another kind of deep question we have for you. Do you have a regret or your biggest failure or anything in particular that sticks out?
Um, Not in particular. Um,
Okay. How do you live life differently? Like if someone was to say, as per the standard, what people would normally live their day-to-day life, I mean, beyond you living in Hawaii right now, um, what makes your life so different compared to everyone else? What makes Carter Carter?
I guess it's like I always found it weird growing up. I'd ask people what they did on the weekend, and it was kind of always the same thing. It's like, I hung out with friends, watched a movie, watched TV, just stayed in my room or whatever. And I never understood that because I constantly, uh, part of it was an unhealthy desire because I wanted just to feel good about myself by working.
Yeah.
But part of it was like, I just so badly wanted to create things. Um, and so I am never lost for what to do. It's about organizing and prioritizing the things that I want to do,
Yeah.
and just trying to find time for everything. And my biggest struggle lately has been trying to minimize the baskets that I put my eggs in, because you can do 10 things that all need 100 hours to complete, and you can put in 1 hour a day, and it can take a long time, or you can devote like several hours a day to one thing. um,
Yeah.
and
Mom and I have talked about that a little bit too. There's so much interesting content out there to do and to learn. And mom right now is going through something similar. She just wants to learn everything and anything she can get her hands on that she finds interesting. And yeah, you put your eggs in so many baskets and you're spending your time over here and over there and everything. But it's good to be well versed. But yeah, you definitely have to pick and choose.
You spoke a little bit, Carter, about your struggle with time management. If you had to pick something that you would say made you imperfect, would it be that or would it be something else?
um, it would probably be my motivation for doing things. Growing up, a lot of the reason why I would do so many different projects was to try and um, impress other people or try and gain affirmation or whatever it was. And it ended up just making me angry, and frustrated and disliking the things that I was like learning myself or working on. And even now, I try and be aware of when I'm doing stuff just to impress people, or um, just make sure it's always something I'm either doing for work or doing for myself for enjoyment, or doing it not because I like it, but for practice.
Because you recently started opening yourself up for commissions as well, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I only looked at the last little bit, but I really wanted to kind of show myself that it was something I could actually monetize. And it was a way, since artists are such critics on themselves, to show myself that other people actually valued what I was doing enough to pay for it.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, so I want to quickly share my screen for those who are watching on YouTube. I have a couple photos and also some audio for those listening on different platforms of different things that Carter has produced himself. And for those who are listening on Spotify or anything of the sort, we will have those pictures also available for viewing, and you can also find them on Carter's social media, and I'll get him to share that at the end of the episode. So just bear with me here. I just want to share the page really quick. So this is some of Carter's artwork. I don't know if you want to speak at all about some of your inspiration or anything with any of them.
Yeah. So I was doing some work for this organization, and I kind of was forced to learn Photoshop really quick while I was working there. And this was kind of the first project that I did where it was like photo bashing in Photoshop and then painting on top of it, which was a really fun workflow that I hadn't tried before.
Cool. And this one here.
Yeah, that's one of the more recent paintings that I did. And it's interesting because it did like really well on my Instagram, but it's not really my favorite. I really enjoyed doing it, but it it doesn't speak to me personally at all.
It's interesting what catches on, eh?
Yeah, and I get it. Like it makes a really good thumbnail and stuff, but it's not personal to me in any way. It's so.
Well, it's still awesome regardless.
Thank you. This one is I I started it and I think I finished it like 7 months later because I rushed it at the start and I had to go back and make so many changes. And I saw such potential in it that I never wanted to finish it. Uh, so it it's definitely my longest one and it took the longest.
Yeah, you
But
were
I love it.
Yeah, I think you were telling me at one point that the longest part of this for you was the brick in the background, right?
Oh my goodness. And I still don't like it.
I think it looks awesome, better than I would ever do, but
Isn't it strange how we pick out our own,
Yeah.
our own things that other people don't even notice?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This guy here, he's my favorite.
See,
Yeah.
it's funny because I was listening to a speaker one night and I did that in like an hour and a half. And like compared to the other one, it's like 1% the time. And I got
Wow.
something that performed almost equally as well. So it's so strange how some things come so easily and other ones like I've just got to fight tooth and nail for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, that's very true. And this guy here.
Yeah, so recently I started adding more designs to my online Redbubble store, which is my brand Sampled Streetwear. And you can get all these different music production themed designs on any kind of merchandise that you want. So there's mouse pads, hats, shirts, hoodies, whatever you can think of, pretty much.
Cool.
This is a oil pastel drawing I was working on before I left, and I hadn't touched traditional mediums for a long time after I started digital art, but just recently I started getting back into it and found how nice it was to work with like the imperfections of the tools, how like the texture you would get from it
Yeah.
does so much of the work for you, and it's so much more pleasing.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I think it's really cool too. I think it was your mom that was telling me that it's neat that this was a repurposed canvas, wasn't it? She said that you basically dug it out of the garbage, you painted it black, and you did something beautiful with it.
Yeah, I think I bought it from a garage sale for $5 and the frame was falling off, and I just put it in the trunk and then painted it black one day, and yeah,
It's
I'm
awesome.
really happy.
We saw it when it was just the head without all the details.
Yeah.
This I did last week or something like that. I happened to start a conversation with someone here about doing mural work, and uh it went really well, and he's like, well, we have like some paint lying around, you're welcome to do it. And I started at like 1 in the afternoon, and I finished like 2.5 hours later. It's one of the fastest things I've ever
Wow.
done,
It's
like
really good though for
at
two and a
that
half
size.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's parts I don't like about it, but I see it and it adds so much color, and I'm happy even with the imperfections I see.
Yeah. Well, it's so much better than what it was, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
And this last one here, this photo.
This one's still kind of hard to look at.
What? I think it's we're so hard on ourselves, man. That's
Well,
crazy.
I also see like how many hours of not enjoying painting it went into it.
That's
Right,
true. It was
right.
tedious, eh?
Yeah, this is the mural I did at Fit Rocks in Moncton, New Brunswick, and yeah, I I bit off way more than I could chew. I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm so much of a I'll volunteer for it now and future me can deal with it type person.
Yeah.
And it's awesome in one way because I really snag a bunch of opportunities that slip through other people's hands, but at the same
Right.
time, future me has always got to stick to it, and it's not fun.
Yeah. You said you had just gone into the place, right? And you said, "Hey, will you let me paint your wall there and just let me put my hand up?" Yeah.
Yeah, I went in. It's a climbing gym, and I had no other purpose, and it literally the idea just popped into my head while I walked in the door. I didn't even know if the guy at the counter was just working there or if he was the owner, but he was. And yeah, I don't know why, but he let me let me do the mural.
Well, it looks awesome.
It sure does.
So also I just have a couple audio samples from Carter too of things that he's done. This one's just what did you call it? A beat?
I think it's just a drill beat. I didn't
Drill
give
beat.
it any specific name.
Okay, yeah. I am gonna play this one from the beginning, I think, because I think it's pretty cool. I'm gonna stop that one there. So that's just one example. Oh, I'm gonna play it again, I guess. And this one should be the second one. Can't remember where we wanted to start it. But let's just give it a go here. We'll figure it out.
And hours since today, and days since 2 weeks. Why'd you make me feel this way? I'm so tired. So tired. Help me find the answers to my why. Answers to my why.
Help me find the answers to my why. When I'm with you, you make me feel alive. You could have chosen any other guy. I'm usually cocky, but with you, you make me shy. I don't know where to go from here, but let me say, trust me, I'm not wearing no disguise. I just wanna take you by surprise. I hope I'm not messing up my flow, cause I can't afford to stay and watch you go.
As I go to bed, I always think.
Cool. And then this one too. We just wanted to see if anyone recognized this one. Because Carter also made this one. Yeah, so pretty cool. Carter's super talented. So Carter, we also wanted to give you the opportunity to share your social media accounts, your merch store, where people can find you if they want to email you or ask about commissions, or you sometimes have done collaborations, things like that. I don't know if you're still interested or doing that kind of work, but anyway, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So my art account is Casper_the artist. That's all lowercase. Casper is spelled Casper, and that's my Instagram. And my merch, you can find the Instagram at, that's actually a good question. Where would you find it? Just give me 1 second. Ooh. Sampled_street_where_. Sampled is SAMPLED, and from there you can also find the store itself, and that's also the Instagram. Yeah, and if you want to contact me, you can contact me at casper.artcommissions@gmail.com. Casper is spelled the same way, and yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm open to anything. I'd love to collaborate with you, or do a project for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again, Carter, for agreeing. And yeah, we knew we wanted you to be our first guest for sure, just because you had done the artwork, you had done the little jingle that we have for our podcast, and we super appreciate you. So yeah, give him a follow and go and take a look at his social media and things like that. And thank you so much, Carter, for willing to do that and for recording with us today. So we will see everyone next Monday for our next episode.
Great. Bye.
Bye.
If you or someone you know has a unique story to tell, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at theimperfectpodcast@outlook.com.
For more information and how to connect with us on social media, you can visit us at our website, theimperfectpodcast.ca.
And from whichever platform you are listening to this episode, be sure to like, share, and leave us a review. We would really appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode.
We look forward to hearing your feedback and seeing you all find that extra joy and embrace your own imperfect.
See you next week.